friends and fellow Singaporeans. We've traveled from third world to first. You know the Singapore story to date well. Our question is, what is the next chapter of this story? Where do we want Singapore to be 20 years from now? The next 20 years will see many changes in the world. The first big question will be, will there be peace or instability in the world and in Asia? If it is not peace, if it is tensions, then we must brace ourselves for a rough ride. But if it is peace and prosperity worldwide, which looks likely, then it's going to be an exciting era of rapid progress and dramatic change. We are both a country and a city. So when we look forward into our future, we have to see our future against what other countries are doing and also against what other cities are doing in the world. In Asia, I expect many countries will continue to rise, and especially the biggest ones, China and India. And they will compete against us in many business areas, manufacturing, services, R&D, and in some areas, they will surpass us. And some parts of China and India will certainly surpass us. But at the same time, these big giants will offer many opportunities for Singaporeans. Their cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Mumbai, Bangalore, will become even more vibrant and exciting places to live and work. They already are. Not quite so comfortable, not quite so clean environmentally, but they will improve, and for their people, it will be exciting. For Singaporeans, it will be very pleasant too. In the developed countries in the West, the change may not be so dramatic, and their problems will be also not so easy to solve, like the problems which the Europeans are going through now. But their leading cities, like New York, Los Angeles, London, these, I believe, will continue to thrive, because they are not only connected to their own countries and the problems in those countries, they are connected to the whole world. Talent flows in, resources flows in, ideas come in, new projects, new companies start up, new changes which influence the world. And we have to see ourselves against those cities and ask us, where do we want to be? One of the big changes in the world, which will change the world, will be technology. It will completely transform our lives. Already it's a huge part of how we live, work, and play. We don't always realize it, but it is. If I ask who in this room does not own a handphone, please put your hand up. You know what I mean. But think 20 years ago, how it was in 1992. Not a lifetime ago, just 20 years. It wasn't like that. People used coin phones, card phones. When recruits were called up in camp, confinement, queue up to phone home, like that. Today, when you're called up, or when your sons are called up, BMTC Pulau Tekong, the first night, the instructors tell them, please use your handphone, call home. Call your mother first, then call your girlfriend. In 1992, the internet had not yet really come to Singapore. And nowhere in the world did anybody imagine Facebook or YouTube or how these gizmos and newfangled things would impact societies, impact our lives. And today, Singapore is one of the most wired countries in the world. So just think back those 20 years and ask yourself how you can imagine what 20 years from now will be like. Not just the technology, but what the technology has done to our lives. I just give you a few examples of things which we can see now, which I think will be big in the next 20 years. A lot of it to do with IT, with computers, with robots. The first one is this mysterious thing. This unidentified flying object was seen at a passing out parade on the floating platform recently. Recruit passing out parade. It circulated buzz on the internet. People ask, is this a secret spy project belonging to MINDEF? So I asked MINDEF, is this a secret spy project? MINDEF told me, after investigating the matter carefully, they said, no, it has nothing to do with me. This is a UAV, an unmanned aerial vehicle. No pilot, but it flies, it's smart. And whom does it belong to? Jack Neo filming his latest movie, Our Boys to Men. It's just one of many uses which UAVs will have in the future. The military use them, reconnaissance, targeting, communications. Civilians use them. You can use them for crowd control. You can use them for civil defense purposes. You can use them to manage crops, to keep track of what's happening on broad areas. So many countries are interested in this. The US Defense Research Agency, DARPA, ran a competition recently on the internet for people to design UAVs. Crowdsourcing. There was an NTU team which participated in this competition. It was called UAVforge.net. And the NTU team submitted a UAV, participated in this, and that entry was called Extractor X. There were 140 teams which competed in this competition from all over the world. Extractor X from Singapore got into the final 10 and eventually ranked 6th out of this 140. And I should tell you that amongst the people whom they came ahead of, one was the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the other one was the Japanese Ministry of Defense. So I think that we did well. One day, when you fly SIA, you may fly UAV. It will take some time, but it is technically possible. What I'm not so sure is possible is that you can have something replace a Singapore girl. And that, I think the human touch will be there for some time to come. But UAVs are an example of robots, technology, computers, artificial intelligence, which is going to be pervasive. In healthcare too, we are going to see changes. A-Star is doing research on brain waves. Reading brain waves using your brain just by thinking, you control a robot. And here, this person is using his brain. You see all the electrodes attached to his head. He's controlling the computer. The computer is controlling this machine, this arm, which is moving his left arm. So if you can imagine, if he is a stroke victim, this is something which can help him exercise, regain his strength, or move for him. Become like a bionic person. How will these technological advances affect us? It's not just a gee whiz factor, cute to talk about, but it's going to cause the whole economy to change, entire industries to alter. Retailers are under pressure from online shops, whether you're selling books, Amazon, whether you're selling videos. It's not even video delivered by mail, but video comes down your broadband. Even groceries, you can order, it'll be delivered. No need for the shop, no need for the expensive rental space. Some jobs will disappear. Others will have to be redesigned. Workers will have to be retrained. Learn to use technology. How to raise productivity. You may be cleaning, but you can't just be sweeping the floor. You have to use a machine to do it better. You may be a personal secretary, but your phone with Siri in a few years will be as smart as a personal secretary. The personal secretary will have to become office manager to do other things which a phone can't do. Our social norms will change. How we communicate with one another, how we interact with one another. It's going to transform Singapore in many ways which we can't tell. This year, National Day, we were or many of us were at the floating platform on the bay. Some of us were overseas. There was one group in Melbourne. They gathered, they watched it live streaming on the internet. Some of those kids' parents were at the bay. So we were having a remote joint celebration. They SMS one another. You are watching the show here, they are watching the show there. You are enjoying it, separated by 5,000 miles. It's a different world. Within Singapore, domestic factors will change Singapore too over the next 20 years. Some of these you can already see. A more mature economy, an aging society, a population which is better educated. But our future is not predetermined. It depends on ourselves. What we make of our resources, our education, our people, what we hope Singapore will be, and what we will Singapore to become. What we decide we want to be there, let's get there. We have to set a clear direction. We cannot just be blown off course or drift with the tides onto the rocks. So I asked Heng Swee Keat to lead a national conversation on our Singapore to define what sort of country we want and how we can achieve it. So please join in this national effort. Think seriously about our future. Contribute your ideas. Work together to make it happen. In a rapidly changing world, Singapore must keep on improving, because if we stand still, we are going to fall behind. You may think you will be happy as you are, but when you see how the world has moved and what the human spirit is capable of elsewhere, we will not be happy. And even if we are, our children will not be happy. So we have to keep on moving. And if we adapt to changes and exploit new opportunities, we will thrive. So what should the next chapter of the Singapore story be about? I think if I summarize it very, very briefly in 3 words: hope, heart, home.